I'm Thor with Deslauriers. We're going to strip a beam for you today so you can see how that's done. Now before we get started with this, I want to caution you that generally speaking, when you go to strip one of these beams, it's only about 24 hours old. Beams are fragile animals, so you need to be careful doing this. If you get too rough with these things, you can introduce micro cracking into these beams, and that'll show up in your test results, and you don't want that. So show a little care when you do this. But we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these end pieces off. We're just going to back these little screws off of here. And then on the back of this is where we can pull these screws out. And if you need, you got a little rubber mallet handy. You can free it up with the rubber mallet, okay? Now we're going to take the other end off, same way. And we'll just set these aside. We'll also take these screws out, set them aside. Sometimes you got to loosen them a little. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this beam over. And by flip, I mean carefully roll it over. So we flip this beam over. Now we're going to take these 3 set screws out of the bottom. Okay, these just have wing nuts on them. And there are a total of 3. And you want to make sure you keep a dish or something handy to put your hardware in. Otherwise, you're going to be making a phone call to us for more hardware, which we would be happy to send. And we've just about got the middle one. And one more on the end. Now once these bottom screws have been disengaged, I'm going to go ahead and remove them. And I have a rubber mallet handy here to help me with this. But just light taps is all it takes. Okay, so now everything has been unfastened. I'm going to flip this back over carefully because we don't want to damage the sample. So back over it goes. Okay, now I'm going to take my stripping tool just as a little helper, and I'm going to give a few taps here to loosen this end piece, and there it goes. I'm going to do the same thing with this end piece, but very carefully. You don't want to damage this beam. Okay, there goes that one. Now the only thing we have left to do is get this out, get these side pieces and the bottom piece off. And again, I'm going to use this stripping tool just to break this free. There it goes. I'm going to do the same thing on this side and make sure this one breaks free. And there it goes. And we should be able to pull this apart. And there it comes. And look what we've got. A beautiful, heavy test beam. Now after stripping this beam's got to go straight into curing, which in most cases is a fog room. In some cases it might be a curing tank. But this will all have to be marked, of course, with lab numbers and all that stuff before it goes in there, the date it's going to be tested, all that stuff. Now, having stripped this thing, we're going to want to reassemble this beam mold so that we can use it again, right, for the next pour. One thing to keep in mind, this all needs to be cleaned well. If you have concrete adhered to it, that concrete can be removed with a wire brush and maybe even some uric acid if necessary. But if you look at these grooves in these end pieces, pay particular attention to cleaning these, because when you tighten this on the end of this beam, if these grooves have any concrete in them, this is going to crack. And the same could be said for this seam here. So spend some time cleaning these and they'll last you a good long time.